Well, Russell Wilson continues to be in the headlines 2 weeks after that interview with Dan Patrick that I think turned the Seahawks on their head and made the rest of the NFL take notice that things have really changed when it comes to quarterbacks. Russell Wilson making it clear he's not happy. There hasn't been a lot of development since then. The Seahawks reportedly weren't thrilled with Russell Wilson doing what he did and saying what he said. Mike Silver of NFL Media reported yesterday a couple of things as it relates to Russell Wilson. First, at least a third of the league has called the Seahawks. Why, as Shereen Williams said last night on PFTPM, why hasn't more of the league called? It's Russell Wilson, for crying out loud. And secondly, the thinking around the league is that the starting point for Russell Wilson is 3 first-round draft picks, which doesn't seem unreasonable. The question is, whatever the ending point is, will that be enough to get the Seahawks to say, we'll take the deal and we'll move on?
No, I mean, it seems like they're sick of each other. That's what I really want to just say. I mean, that's where it seems. That's what it looks like. You know, again, Russell, yeah, I think that was a little bit of a pre-planned propaganda effort with the Dan Patrick interview, certainly. I do think it was a little bit of a low blow to the Seahawks to talk about the sacks thing. I do. You know, listen, Russell Wilson's awesome. We both are huge fans. Man, he takes a lot of sacks because of Russell Wilson. It's not always because of the offensive line. Out of all the great quarterbacks, I would tell you that Russell Wilson turns down more people that are open in the middle of the field than any of them. Now, he makes it work somehow, some way, and he's clutch as hell in the fourth quarter and all that. But how can the Seattle Seahawks not be a little annoyed with Russell Wilson and the way he, acted right after the Super Bowl?
Well, and it's not just the Seahawks. You got teammates who are responsible for blocking for Russell Wilson. They see that. Walter Jones, Hall of Fame left tackle for the Seattle Seahawks, has been outspoken in his belief that Russell was out of line, calling out his teammates. I mean, it was stunning because it was delivered in a very calm and rational way.
Right.
We didn't quite appreciate in the moment the impact of what he was saying.
Right.
He was doing something that quarterbacks typically don't do, which is blame anyone for anything related in any way to their failures or struggles on the football field. But it does seem to be part of a broader effort to get a fresh start and to agitate, to get the Seahawks sufficiently upset so they're ready to move on as well, right? I think that's what you need. It can't just be Russell wants out. The Seahawks have to see that this guy's making it a pain in the butt. So, yeah, let's go ahead and take the best offer that someone gives us.
Well, I would think, it would take at least 3 first-rounders, right? That would make sense, certainly. But Russell Wilson, it seems like he wants to go somewhere and, make it all about him in a way. Not that all about him, but he wants to play in a free-flowing offense where he gets to put on a show like Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and, Aaron Rodgers in his prime and do that. And I think he feels, handicapped that way to a degree, handcuffed a little bit. But in the same way, there's a contract here that makes it, they just paid him. I paid him a lot of money. That makes things tough there too. And as much as I think, in my gut, I really feel like the Seahawks would like to get the hell out of here, Russell Wilson. We don't want to deal with you, and we'll find somebody else. I would think they want to do that, but I don't think their team right now is capable of, overcoming that. It'd be one thing if we were 5 years ago and it was that defense was still there and they can run the ball, and then you'd go, okay, they can still find a way to win a lot of games with another quarterback. But right now, that defense is a huge question mark, and they're not in the place that I think you can just say, we're going to win games without Russell Wilson. They kind of need him, and I think that's what makes the conversation very interesting too.
The team that makes the most sense for conversation purposes and maybe for ultimate transaction purposes is the New York Jets because they have the second overall pick.
Right.
They've got the 2 first-round picks that the Jets got in the Jamal Adams trade. So the Jets have 4 over the next 2 years, and they've got Sam Darnold.
Exactly.
Now, I don't think it's going to take 4 first-round picks and Sam Darnold to get Russell Wilson. But, look, from the Jets' standpoint, Russell Wilson instantly gives them something they haven't had in 50 years in a franchise quarterback, a true short-list franchise quarterback who fills a stadium, assuming that the stadium is allowed to be filled this year. And in New Jersey, they're moving in that direction, although they got a long way to go. I think the Jets would make a ton of sense.
Sure.
And they've got the draft capital. The question is, do they want to do it? And Robert Saleh knows Russell Wilson as well as anyone because he's had to prepare to defend against him multiple times per year for the past several years.
No doubt. No doubt. Again, like Deshaun Watson, the conversation with that yesterday, I mean, the Dolphins, the Panthers, I would think that would be part of the conversation too. Why wouldn't it be? I mean, he could go to those places and be successful. Also, if you're the Houston Texans, wouldn't you call and go, wait, we could just swap quarterbacks here. We don't really got to there's very little particulars here that we'd have to figure out. Would Russell Wilson be willing to go down to Houston and do that? I don't know. But that just, when I first heard a lot of this conversation, that's what popped up to my head. So I would think there's opportunities. We'll see where it goes.
That's a great idea, too. Remember what Richard Sherman said to Deshaun Watson after the rookie year game in Seattle? Sherman said to Watson, you played us tougher than any quarterback ever has. That was in Seattle, the only time that those two teams had squared off. Well, maybe they did in 2020. They did in 2020, right? It was Seattle at Houston. I got to go back and look at 17, 18, 19, 20. Yeah, I think that's right, every 4 years. I don't know.
I can't remember right now either.
I've gotten myself twisted up and confused about a lot of things right now. Let me just say this before we go. $39 million cap charge they would have to take by trading him. If you defer the trade until after June 1, it can be $13 million this year and $26 million next year, which makes it a little bit easier. And one last point before we take a break. No one really quite knows who's calling the shots in Seattle ever since Paul Allen passed. His sister, Jody Allen, runs the team. There are some who think that basically it's just an extension of the broader Vulcan industrial group.
Right.
And there really isn't one person who has that clear power to say yes or no. That could be a complicating thing.
I think it's his last year in Seattle regardless. That's what I'll just say.
And if that's the point, that's the point, why not just do it now?
Maybe.
Why not just do it now? Let's not have one last year. Do it now.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.